wanted to discuss supercars, mate. We have the Gold Coast. Is it 500 this weekend?
Gold Coast 600.
600.
Uh, I'm sure it's a 600. Um,
Well,
yeah, I'm sure. But now you've made me second guess myself. Yeah. Oh no, it's not. It's a 500.
yeah. Stunning
It
event.
is a 500. Look at me.
They
Huh?
have been they have been posting up non-stop videos of races that have been on there in the past. The battle between I think it was McLaughlin and Winterbottom a few years ago. Um, Mate, that track, just
It's a great.
the
It's a
the
great street
aesthetics of
track.
it. The aesthetics of it, I love it. I'm actually keen as for this weekend to watch this.
Oh,
Does does SVG close it out this weekend?
100%. I don't think there's any doubting that. My first thing I wanted to discuss actually was the title of this race because it's the Boost Mobile Gold Coast 600, 500. My bad. All right. So we were talking about Red Bull before and the change of landscape that they cause in Formula One.
Yep.
Um, you know, and we've mentioned Peter Adderton and Boost Mobile before in the pod. Very outspoken gentleman. Having said that, has invested a lot of money and put his mouth, and he's put his money where his mouth is for everything that he has said in terms of the category itself. Um, he's pulling his funding from Erebus next year because he wants to. He's been saying for many years now he wants to start his own team. Right? He's been sponsoring cars, I think, for the last 5 years in the sport.
Yep.
He moved to double sponsorship a couple of years ago. This year we saw him sponsor 3 cars in the Bathurst Great Race. He's sponsoring an event. There is one racing entitlement left for next year that he has said if supercars let him use it, he wants to run Richie Stanaway as long as Stanaway wants to run next year in the championship. He won't take any of the proceeds from the team gets from being in the sport for 3 years. So none of the teams can sort of kick up a stink that they're not going to get as much money back.
Yep.
Um, so he's pretty much saying, I'm going to run at an even bigger loss for 3 years, just to run Richie Stanaway from, the great feel good story that was at Bathurst.
Hmm.
Now, my sort of dilemma is, okay, he talks of a big game, is very critical of supercars. And realistically, you need teams to be critical of the product as well as, being positive about the product.
Hmm.
But I see no negative about letting him have this racing entitlement and being part of the sport. He's bringing money, he's bringing sponsorship to the sport, you know, and as a sport, you need as much money as you can get. And it doesn't matter how um, scathing he is of some decisions. Um, let him, let him. He is very confident about himself and about building a team to rival Red Bull. He's got the money behind it to do it. I don't know the hesitation with supercars behind letting him to actually get his hands dirty. Run a team, see if he's actually as good as it is. It's as easy as he thinks it is, or he can do it as well as he thinks he can. Because either he's gonna come in, it's gonna be too hard, and he's gonna leave, or he's gonna come in and build a great organization, which is just gonna fuel the competition in the sport. Um, I saw Ryan Walkinshaw comment on one of his tweets about getting into the sport, and then he just pretty much said, "It's about time to shut up and buy a wreck, then, mate." And I thought that was a good bit of banter between owner and a potential owner. But I think that's what, like, in terms of a sport, to see it continually growing, fresh money is a vital part of keeping a sport continually growing. So let him spend a couple million running his own team. I don't see any downside in it. I just don't know the hesitation with this supercars and also the teams as well, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me if he's not. If he's saying I'm not going to take any of the proceeds, so you're not going to lose out, what is the hesitation in letting
Well,
him
I
start
think
start
that
a
was
team?
one. I think that was the main hesitation for a lot of it. The teams had been promised a certain amount of money back,
Yeah.
and then letting him in was going to interfere with that. Uh, but like now that he's pulled, he's pretty much um, stated that he's not going to take any of the money um, from the other teams. There's no reason for us to not see him next year. But my thing is more, if he has invested this much money in the sport so consistently, I don't think any of he's been involved in on a Tickford car. He's then been involved in running double sponsorship on the Walkinshaw team. He's then been involved in running sponsorship on the Erebus team. Running a wild card entry as well on the Erebus team. Being involved in bringing Will Brown and Brody Kostecki into the sport, personally sponsoring them as well. So it's not like it's a one and done thing. There's a
Mm.
track record of backing youngsters, of backing teams that are trying to push up the grid. So like before we discussed the weekend, I just wanted to see what your thoughts on that were, because
Mm.
I just think it can only benefit the sport.
Yeah, I agree, but I guess from playing devil's advocate, for him, if there's only one position left on the grid, he's going to want to run a two-car team eventually, surely.
Eventually he will, but
So
I think
where does that come from? Did Tickford lose a car? Like what's do you know what I mean?
yeah, I definitely do. I think we're going to get to a stage where I don't know how they can how the powers that be can control it, but I think it is always better for a sport to have more teams
Oh,
running the same amount of cars than less teams. Uh, do supercars force the sale of a wreck or pull a wreck or limit the amount of cars teams can run? I think eventually we're going to get to that stage. Um, I mean, this is probably a real dick thing to say, but would I rather see two new one new well funded organization that was running two cars, and we take say two back marker Brad Jones cars off the grid? I mean, that's a no brainer. Um, I mean, and it is a dick thing to say, because it's a team's livelihood there.
mm,
But I think for like the actual show, that's a no brainer. Also, like Tickford, like, do we pull, one of their wrecks? They've got what, three wrecks? Do we pull one of them or two of them? Because I know that Blanchard Racing also want to move to a two-car system as well. So they're both sort of in the lurch there. Um, and I'm a firm believer of, yeah, make them two-car teams if we get to that stage, and mandate it. Because we'll have the same amount of drivers, but it's just, it's I think it's just more sustainable for a sport if you've got more teams trying to bring in the same amount of money into the sport than less teams. It's just math. It's just like quick math, simple maths.
it's it's like the Formula One not letting new teams in. Like surely more teams means more sponsorships, more
It is,
more
but
revenue
like
overall.
Formula One is at a place coming from complete strength, right? There's no one's competing with them, but supercars is not coming from a place of complete strength. So having the ability for the sport to to grow and have other people, other teams market your sport, which is really what it is
Hmm.
as well. It just seems like an absolute no brainer. And even just to like let him be on the grid with one car, just to actually see if it's exactly what he wants to do. Like just to say, all right, here's your chance. Is this what do you actually want to pursue it? Because he's been there long enough now that we know that he's not just, he hasn't just come in like willy nilly. He's stayed there for a couple of years. sponsoring teams. I think he even tried to buy the series when they were up for sale, which didn't happen. But yeah, just before we discussed the weekend, I just wanted to put that out there that I think it's about time for Supercars to let him have a go. Just make it happen. I don't care what strings you have to pull. Just actually let's make it happen. Let's get some new blood on the grid.
Well, Supercars, if you're listening,
Get
make
some
it
blood
happen.
on the grid.
It's what we want, really. More cars. Like, that's one of the things I love about Supercars, that the grid's pretty much full. Like, another car, even better.
Yes, it's a robust grid, but we can't, you can't get complacent.
No.
That's the main thing. You can't get complacent. So the Boost Mobile Gold Coast 500. I'm so at a loss now. 'Cause I thought it was a 600. I thought it was the same. I thought it was the same. What's it like week setup we've always had, but it's not. It goes back to a 600 next year. So I don't even know. Here we go. I don't even know how the weekend is going to run. I feel like an absolute fraud.
Fraud.
Yeah, like I'm talking about something that I shouldn't be talking about because I didn't even know it was a 600.
Well, there is another good aspect of the weekend, I guess, is the Tasman Cup's going to be happening with the S5000.
Yep.
Which is always fun to watch, and I'm sure that'll be on. Usually the S5000's on Stan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stan Sport. So,
but I think on
plenty
Supercars
for
weekends
to
they're
watch.
on. I think on Supercars weekends they're on Foxtel.
Are they? Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tasman Cup should be good. That was good last year, so that'll be a nice little teaser for the Supercars races.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gold Coast 5000, stunning track. Gizzy has been on fire. Yeah, essentially.
I can't see that changing, to be honest.
No, I think surely the championships gets locked up this weekend. How many events? I think there's another 2 events after this, or is it only one?
One more. There's this, and then there's the I think it's one more. I think it's just this, and then the Adelaide 500. But yeah, I think this weekend, I think he just has to hold serve, and he's won it. I say this is how much of a fraud I am. This is only a 1-driver event. I'm thinking it's a 2-driver event.
Oh, like a co-driver.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a co-driver event. It's not. It's just a normal 500, 2 500 races. Oh my god! I'm sorry, people. I come on here pretending I'm an oracle of supercars, and I don't even know what the events are.
That's all right, mate.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know if you've heard of the Pit Stop Boys. I think they're a podcast in the UK who've fought on Formula One.
Yeah.
And someone asked them a question of where has Sebastian Vettel driven throughout his career, and they were adamant that he'd only driven at Aston Martin and Ferrari.
That was it.
Didn't even mention Red Bull, or Toro Rosso. So they're the frauds, mate. We just got a couple of things mixed up.
Oh, I realized why I was a fraud though, because tickets for next year's race have come on sale, and it's back to a 600. So I've probably been seeing that for the last couple of weeks, and I've just thought, oh, it's a 600. Yeah. No, I'm so happy to finally see the supercars hit the streets of Surfers Paradise again. It's been a long time. Oh, not Surfers, the Gold Coast. It's been a long Surfers. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Through all the COVID and stuff. And like what we say, it's probably one of those sort of crown jewel events on the calendar. Very sort of the Singapore Grand Prix of supercars. So realistically, it's one of the best races to watch. I've never been there live, but in terms of sitting from my screen, it's such a good track to watch racing at. And going back to all these tracks this year that we hadn't been to for a couple of years, it's been absolutely awesome. I can't wait to go back to Adelaide as well after that. But we got this weekend first. Hopefully Chaz can bring me some joy. I'm not counting I'm holding my breath because I think realistically it's going to be a Giza two win weekend that we've seen sort of a couple times in the latter half of this year. But turn on KO this weekend, guys, and have a watch. I think it's a great race to watch if you're new to the sport. It's a great advertisement for the best parts of the sport.
You know what I've been doing? I've been seeing it pop up on my phone, but go on Supercars Facebook page. They've been posting up videos all week, and Scotty McLaughlin's been reposting them. Like, there's some epic things that have been happening. But watching just quickly before we finish up, watching those videos, it made me think: can you foresee another manufacturer coming in anytime soon? Because obviously they had the Volvos, they had the Nissans, would be nice to see a third car on the grid.
I know there's been interest brewing between a few teams. Realistically, I would say if there is, they're probably waiting to see how Gen 3 is received and also how close of a category it is to then join. I mean, it would make no sense for a team to commit to it without seeing, the product that they're going to, be pretty much developing a car for. But yeah, I think there's potential for a lot of manufacturers to join. Like off the top of my head, I think if you're like a manufacturer like Dodge or Chrysler, getting involved in that action would probably be, if that's what you wanted to do, would be, a real cool prospect. I mean, having said that, Dodge had pretty much closed the door on any NASCAR plans 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if they're looking to get into, normal combustion engine racing. But yeah, like we've got so many cool manufacturers here that I think have cars that could get in and amongst it. I'd like to see a Toyota 86 or a Toyota Supra version car get involved in it. I'm a firm believer that you need other like more manufacturers in the sport also better. But I think how it has to be done has to be much more calculated than how they did it before. You need like at least a group of 6 or 8 cars to come in all at once and sort of share resources, share data, help each other sort of grow all at once. Like if you're not going to do it like that, I think you're pissing in the wind. It's like if a manufacturer was to do it and get involved, they would definitely have to do it how Ford have, named this Mustang, group of 9 cars, Ford Racing. There's going to be shared data. There's going to be a, Ford Racing oversight among all the teams. Like that, you have to do it properly. And as long as a manufacturer is willing to spend that money and do it properly, by all means, I can see something happening. Or I can see it happening. But I think they'd all be sort of waiting and watching and just seeing what we're actually going to get, because no one really knows what we're going to get yet.
Yep.
But I would like it. I'd like to see Kia Stingers involved, to be honest. I think they're like the what's the word? The best choice in terms of a market relevant car in the Australian market that also looks cool. And I think the perception of Kia could change drastically if they got involved in something like that.
100%. Yeah, I can't think of any other kind of larger cars like that. Like you said the 86, but I feel that would be tiny. Like I know the chassis probably would fit it, but yeah, it just seems like a really small car. But yeah. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there, mate. This next week we'll have a review of the Mexican Grand Prix and the Gold Coast 500. Not the 600.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thanks for listening,
Get keen.
guys. Keep jumping on the YouTube, subscribe, like the videos, jump on our socials, subscribe, all that kind of thing. And yeah, looking forward to another great weekend of motorsport. Joey, thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having me, mate. Always a pleasure.
Always. All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
buddy.